Are we ready? Are we on the line?
I think those guys are beat.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the Cuyahoga County Council regular meeting for Tuesday, August 26, 2014. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Calling the roll, Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Schron.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Hairston. Ms. Simon. Mr. Greenspan.
Here.
Mr. Miller. Mr. Brady. Mr. Germana. And Ms. Conley.
Here.
There is a quorum.
All right, we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For our moment of silence this evening, I would like to have a moment of silence for those persons who lost their lives in the plane crash at the Cuyahoga County Airport, for them and for their families. And moving on to item 5, public comment related to the agenda. Is there any public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair. Reverend Pamela Pinckney Butts has signed in to speak.
Okay, we got a glitch here. We don't have our clock, so at 3 minutes we'll start waving around, and somebody over here, Jean, will give me the sign, and we'll ask you to wrap up. And I think this is your first time here at our new.
And I want to say congratulations to you.
All right, thank you.
It's
All right,
beautiful.
go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I did not challenge or question or even observe all of the resolutions for this evening due to some other circumstances that I've had to face prior to coming this evening. So the ones I did address are as follows. In your appointment of Cassie Handler to the Adams Board, I'd like to know of this person's experience versus book knowledge. We get a lot of people in positions who are educated, but they're not familiar with people through experience or life circumstances. And we need a balance in both areas. Not to say that a person needs to be abused to understand abuse, but they need to have some type of experience or knowledge more than just reading it in a textbook. And I ask that you would make that information known, not just to me, but to other people who are affected by this. For the resolution 0166, the special elections to fill the vacancies for the county executive seat, I'd like to have some more information on the terms and conditions that are affected by that. And then also, Resolution 160, I'd like to know the finances that are affected by this decision that is being brought before you all. And for the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter dog adoptions, I'd like to know what happens to those animals after a certain period of time when they're not adopted. Are they put to sleep? What other options other than adoption? Because there are so many things that people can do, such as helping people who are disabled with these animals. They could be used to work with children in school situations. There are so many things that animals can do, and they're very, very compatible and good friends, and they help in a lot of areas. And I don't want these animals to be just processed and sold and put to sleep because they weren't adopted within a certain period of time. And for Resolution 205, various county departments, offices and agencies, that's very vague for me. I understand that you had a meeting, a finance meeting, or your finance committee met yesterday. I'd like some more finances in these various county departments and offices to address gun control and gun elimination. We are in such a horrible state, even in this nation. People are just killing people for no reason. And we need to have some some allocation of funding to have this money taken from these guns and put in these agencies such as even some of the medical arena and even some of the faith-based entities. And we need to be addressing family restoration and violence in voting. And I did have some other ones, but the clock ticked on me. Thank you.
I think it's some
And I
of your
will be coming back for the non-agenda items. too.
some of your
Thank you.
questions will be answered during the course of the meeting.
Okay,
All
thank
right, anyone else signed in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, the minutes for the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole for August 12th, 2014, and the regular meeting for August 12th, 2014 are in your packet. If you've had an opportunity to review those items, we can entertain a motion to adopt them as circulated.
Move to adopt.
Second. Moved by Mr. Schron and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The minutes are adopted. Item 7 is the announcements of council, and I'm going to defer to Mr. Jones, who will introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Madam President. I know I'm on the clock, so I'm going to try to make this introduction as quick as possible. This council approved last December during our biennial budget $500,000 to create a pilot program, closing the achievement gap, to help our young ninth grade children in the cities of Garfield Heights, Maple Heights, and Warrensville Heights, and now this summer adding Cleveland Heights as well, to help our young children to reach their full potential, children who are at risk. And in my own personal experience, I've seen children who've gone off track, and I've had to bury some of them. So to capture these children at this age, at this critical time, this program is an incredible program. And I just like Bob Ivory, when we built this program, we reversed the brain drain. We brought back not just LeBron James, but we've got Bob Ivory back in the house. So we want our program director to come forward and just share a little bit of what they've done with the children over the last few months.
And welcome back, Mr. Ivory. We missed you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening,
We at least used to hear from you when you were liaison to council.
Madam President, council members, administration. Let's see if I can get this up. If you would have told me when we were in the Chicago title building during the transition period that 3 years later I would be coming here doing this, I would have probably tried to sell like this tall building, a big pond of water to you, because I would have never dreamt of having the opportunity to come back in this capacity on something that I'm very passionate about, which is the achievement gap. Just a slight backdrop. I had the privilege of working under the leadership of former State Senator C.J. Prentice and former Governor Ted Strickland with this model in 2007. And in essence, it was at that time, about 14 school districts, about 35 high schools across the state of Ohio under that $20 million initiative. And had conversations last fall with Councilman Jones about some issues in Garfield in particular, and they were very similar to the other school districts that ended up being a part of this pilot. And I felt what an opportunity to recreate what we did in that era under Governor Strickland and C.J. Prentice, to bring it to some first-string suburban school districts that were having some dynamics around closing the achievement gap. So some of the mindset as we went through various drafts of this, and a lot of hard work and conversations between the Family Children First Council under the leadership of Robin Martin, working with Rick Warner, working with legal and Majid, and from November up until, say, May, I flew back a few times, and I'm very proud to say that we decided not to wait until this fall to institute the program. We actually began at the end of the last school year, like May, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the end of the school year. We had an opportunity to recruit students, especially in Garfield and Maple Heights, to begin a summer bridge program, because I felt that one day waiting to impact students' lives that have already faced various risk factors and challenges was just too long. So to begin it in May, we started with a cohort of students that once school ended, we introduced to them what we called a summer bridge program. And during that summer bridge program, we had some 40 students between those two school districts. We had a little later start in Warrensville, so they didn't have the time to do the proper recruiting, even though Warrensville is up and going now. and our linkage coordinator I'll introduce in a second, that's from Warrensville, is here in the audience. But we had 40 students that we engaged over the course of 6 weeks. And we had the opportunity to engage them with 3 providers that are Cuyahoga County providers, one in Ohio, Guidestone, formerly Berea Children's Home, Reading Ram, which is also a provider of the county, Golden Ciphers. And between those 3 providers, we did very intense, interpersonal, interactive, fun, educational learning type projects with these students. And so I'm extremely proud that we took that initiative to jump right in and begin the process over the summer. So now that the school year has started, and I've had opportunities to engage and talk to each superintendent and work with the principals. I've spoke at every convocation of every school district at the beginning of the year. The linkage coordinators are in place, working with teachers, identifying students. So we've actually hit the ground running thanks to your support, and you're making this a priority. There's a school of thought that the early years are definitely the formative years, but there's this whole array and cadre of high school students that we can ill afford to not invest in, especially 9th grade, which is the first year that you earn 5 credits to go to the next grade. It's the highest dropout year. So these group of students can be reached, and we've begun that process, and then our evidence over the past 7 years states that we've been and had some success in reaching this group. So you don't hear me speak my probably now 7 minutes. I wanted to introduce one of my colleagues. So I see one of my students and a parent. Now I'm so happy. First, I want to bring forth Mr. Hurt, who's going to bring forth, he's representing Ohio Guidestones, formerly Berea Children's Home, and he can speak specifically to their portion of our Summer Bridge program. Mr. Hurt.
Good evening, Council. Just to be real brief, Ohio Guidestone, a community-based service organization, we brought the social-emotional component to the program, and where we had workshops in the school system, Garfield, as well as Maple Heights, and we spoke to self-esteem issues within the young adults, as well as barriers to them achieving, and then we provided remedies to that. And I thought that that was a great thing because it actually worked, and we actually was able to build a great rapport with these students. But then we also had the second part, which was our unification, so to speak, where we use the ropes course, which is a farm that Ohio Guidestone owns. And on that farm are areas that provide activities that have to be done as a unit. They have to be team building activities, and to see the students smiling and engaged, I think that was the critical part. They were engaged, having fun, but engaged in helping one another, and even getting the linkage coordinators involved, even myself. I think that was great for their character. So I think those 2 pieces were the biggest pieces for us, the social emotional piece to their self-esteem and barriers, and then the unification, the team building part. And that was it.
That was just one piece. There was another component. It was called Golden Ciphers. Pam Hubbard, who's also a provider for the county. Her piece was more working with affirmations, working with rites of passage, working with self-awareness, all those pieces that allow students to, feel better about themselves, learn about themselves, be able to gain a greater awareness of their community and their surroundings. And that piece was Pam Hubbard and Golden Ciphers. The other piece, it was called I Read Before I Rap. I just love that whole concept. With this generation and the hip-hop culture, they're very much like our generation was conjunction, junction, what's that function, hooking up, phrase. Come on, act like I'm the only one that remembers Schoolhouse Rock. Well, imagine the hip-hop version. Imagine a 2014 version of that. And before I close, I'll play a video clip that we recorded at Garfield High School with the students, where they took a component of the OGT, a science component, which a lot of our targeted students do not do well. Even my son, when he was in high school, that was the component. I think it was on the last try that he passed before graduation. But they took a section of the OGT, and they learned it in a few days. In the pre-test, I'm not going to give away what the pre-test scores were and the post-test, but that was a piece that we were able to do over the summer. I would like to stand and introduce one of our linkage coordinators. This is Ms. Maya Nettis. She's at Warrensville Heights High School, comes very much referred. She was formerly at Murtis Taylor, who was also a partnership that, working with Councilman Joan and others, we were able to bring another mental health service provider to Warrensville High School, and we're also working on the probation department in the county to provide a probation officer inside of Warrensville High School, as they do not have one. Also, I have a parent that I would like to come forward, because it's to them that we serve. If
Your 10
I'm
minutes are
probably,
getting
how much I have left?
stretched here, so.
Okay. I just have a parent, and she's one of the standout parents, Miss Spain, and her son is in. Come on up here, Brian. And as you see, our blazers. Every school has a blazer. Every school has a vest. We plan on being well-rounded, well-spoken, well-read, well-traveled, and well-dressed. So this is where some of your and our dollars are going to help improve and sustain our self-esteem. But a couple of seconds of words I'm sure a parent would like to share in reference to just her experience over the summer.
Hello, my name is Leslie Spain. I am a proud parent of a student of promise at Garfield Heights High School. I've always been impressed with the sense of community, cooperation of staff and the community. My son started to fall off track last school year for a few reasons. He lost 2 grandparents. I was going through an ugly divorce. Just to make a long story short, you know, he needs a male role model. And along came Bob Ivory and the Student of Promise. The program has provided the students grades 9 through 12 with academic support, mentoring, graduation and college prep, cultural awareness and social development. The linkage coordinators, which I dearly love, encourage the students to reach their highest potential through activities and opportunities that broaden their horizon. Y'all have to forgive me. My mom just had a heart attack, so I'm a little all over the place right now. It exposes them to higher education and allows them to interact with positive role models. I really believe in this program. The students, it'll strengthen the community, you know, strengthen them. And I'm really hoping that the program will stay around through his graduation and more to come.
Okay, we
Thank
want you
you.
back here in 4 years with your high school diploma
Hey.
and your admission to college, okay?
That's right.
All right.
And in closing, and I just think that this is a piece that actually just shows how our learning process is very innovative. I'm just going to show a clip that they recorded inside the Summer Bridge program, and it talks about the OGT preparation section that they learned in a few days. And I'm just going to hit play. It's only like 3 minutes.
You gonna still come do that session tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna come through a little bit later on because I gotta run and do some stuff. What's that? What's wrong with you? What's up?
Man, these are these pretesters. I started in Garfield Heights, a Student of Promise program, and it ain't looking too hot. It's like 2 out of 14, 1 out of 14, 0 out of 14, 4 out of 14. We getting better. We back to 1, pro, 0, 0. But they seem like a cool group of kids, though.
Wait, so they took a test and they got 1 question right out of 14?
3 days.
3 days to get them?
Yeah,
together?
because they go on the field trip Friday and they event Thursday.
Okay.
It's cool. I'm going to get them together.
SOP, we in a building, in the library. DJ Fatty Baby Boy.
All I need is 20 bars to break down the cell. Break down the cell. Break down the cell. All I need is 20 bars of sore organelles. Sore organelles. Sore organelles. All I need is 20 bars to break down the cell. Break down the cell. Break down the cell. All I need is 20 bars of sore organelles. Sore organelles. Sore organelles.
Plasma membrane allows materials to move in and out the cell, deposit or remove.
Using cytoplasm, clear the jelly in the cell. Ribosomes make protein, some muscles never fail. What does a Golgi apparatus do? It does
Sort
what?
and transport proteins.
You should never miss that on the test. It does what?
Sort and transport proteins.
It does what?
Sort and transport proteins.
Golgi apparatus does what?
Sort and transport proteins.
Sorts and does what?
Transport proteins.
Transport proteins. Golgi apparatus sorts and transport proteins. Turn up.
Golgi apparatus sorts and transport protein. Mitochondrium makes energy for the cell. All I need is 20 bars to break down the cell. Break down the cell. Break down the cell. All I need is 20 bars to sort organelles. Sort organelles. Sort organelles. All I need is 20 bars to break down the cell. Break down the cell. Break down the cell. All I need is 20 bars to sort organelles. Sort organelles. Sort organelles. Control center of the cells called the nucleus. Inside the nucleus is the nucleolus, which makes ribosomes.
Ribosomes make proteins.
Stores food, water, and waste. That's you. Stores food, water, and waste.
Stores food, water, and waste.
And waste.
And waste.
And waste. Waste.
Waste.
Mimic me. Like, hey, do that.
Vacuum stores food, water, and waste.
I mean, the cytoskeleton is a network of rods that makes the cell shape. My science makes you nod.
Cell one supports to protect the cell. Like an eggshell researched on a Dell. Core like a train's grain chlorophyll. We capture sunlight, which produces a meal.
Say our short hairs outside of the cell. Used for movement for jether the long tail.
All I need is 20 bars to break down the cell. Break down the cell. Break down the cell.
All I need is 20 bars of sort organelles. Sort organelles. Sort organelles.
All I need is 20 bars to break down the cell. Break down the cell. Break down the cell.
All I need is 20 bars of sort organelles. Sort organelles. Sort organelles.
100%. I'm not saying who. Just chill. 100%.
This is as long as 3 minutes.
100%.
We gotta get going, folks.
100%. Minus 1, that's still an A. Minus 2, that's still an A. Minus
Yeah, we
2,
got-
that's another A. All right? See how that works? See how that works? Huh? I mean, as a group, we gonna just keep it as we all fam. So y'all went from an F to an A. How many times have we met? Like physically working on the project? 3 times? 3? 2? How many hours? 8? 3?
God, we really got. Thank you.
I think you
very
get the
much.
picture.
You got the picture.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you so much for your time and for your investment in our youth. And we look forward to coming back maybe in January. Case Western Reserve University will be our evaluator. So by then, we should have some quantitative and some other data to share. But we appreciate this opportunity.
All right, thank you. And thank you for all the guests coming down. All right. Okay, let's move on. We got a long agenda here. Mr. Fitzgerald is not available this evening, so we can skip item 8 and move on to item 9, legislation introduced by council, consideration of a resolution of council for first reading referral to committee. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2014-0204, a resolution authorizing payments to Cuyahoga Community College and Cleveland State University, each in the amount of $30,233.40 for scholarships for veterans residing in Cuyahoga County, authorizing the county executive to negotiate and execute any necessary contract or other documents for same, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
We have this going to finance and budget, but why isn't this going to education and sustainability? You want to leave it? All right, let's go ahead and leave it at finance and budget, but I mean, it is an educational program. Okay. All right, item B, committee reports and consideration of a resolution of council for second reading under suspension of the rules.
Resolution number 2014-0184, a resolution confirming the county executive's appointment of Cassie Handler to serve on the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for an unexpired term ending June 30, 2016, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
We need a motion to suspend Rule 9D because it's only had 2 readings.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Jemian to suspend the rules. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The rule is suspended, and the clerk has read this item. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Gallagher. Did you want to be heard on this, Ms. Gallagher? Ms. Conwell?
Yes, Madam Chair. Cassie Handler, as our guest, wanted someone with experience and not just book knowledge. The committee feels that she does bring personal experience in this matter. She's had some personal tribulations in her own family life. We talked in a great deal in committee, and the administration appointed her. There are other positions that are appointed by the state for the Adams Board. I did have a conversation with Mr. Dinahan. He had no issues with Ms. Cassie Handler, and we'd ask the committee to please pass this resolution.
All right, any other questions? Is she here? Ms. Handler, is she here?
No, I always suggest they can watch this live stream.
Okay. All right, is there another discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations to Ms. Handler. Moving on to item C, consideration of a resolution of council for 4th reading adoption.
Resolution number 2014-0160, a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 2, Section 2.01 and Article 3, Section 3.03 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County, modifying the residency requirements for the offices of County Executive and County Council, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Gallagher. Someone want to be heard on this?
Yes, Madam President, we had discussed at the last meeting about using a common date of for measurement of this, and had suggested the residency requirement all take place at 2 years effective from the date of taking office, and I'd submitted that as a for consideration, and I would so move to amend to include that language so that it would become 2 years from the date of taking office.
Okay, so your proposal is in the packet, is that correct?
I don't see it here. I thought we.
Should have been passed out on the desk.
The proposal is on page 47 of your agenda packet.
Okay.
Thank you. What this does is this brings simplicity to residency rules. It brings both the county executive and the county council in line with 2 years from the date that they would be sworn in. The current language and the proposed language that's being amended will have those dates floating around the calendar depending on when there's a primary and when those elections would take place. They would be obviously significantly longer than the 2 years that I think was the intent when this was really put in place. And so this would measure a very simplistic way in which it says 2 years begins from the date you raise your hand and be sworn into office.
Okay, are there any other comments or?
Madam Chair, you have a
Yeah.
first for your motion,
Oh.
and you need a second.
I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. So there was a first and a second on the amendment, okay. All those in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye.
Madam Chair, who was the second?
Brady.
Thank you.
All right, now, so we need a discussion on the amendment, is that right?
Madam President, I still like this amendment, but I have concerns that there may not be sufficient support for the full resolution if this amendment is included. So unless I hear a change of sentiment, I'm going to have to vote against it. And I would like to have a roll call on the amendment, please.
Madam President, I just do not understand why anybody who's in favor of putting a residency requirement on the chief executive would be against it when it's when all we're doing is simplifying it by making it 2 years for both. It just seems hard to believe that anybody would find that that would be a grounds for voting against, to have a consistent period of time in regards to this. So I'd love to hear if anybody is that is part of the rationale, why they would be against a 2-year fixed standard that would be coinciding for all offices, and it would never change depending on when the elections were taking place.
Is there a discussion?
I did not.
All right, call the roll.
Calling the roll for the proposed substitute. Mr. Gallagher? Mr. Schron?
Yes.
Ms. Conwell? No. Mr. Jones? No. Mr. Hairston?
No.
Ms. Simon? Mr. Greenspan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
No.
Mr. Brady? Yes. Mr. Germana? No. And Ms. Conley? The motion is defeated.
Okay, so now we're back to the original resolution as set forth on the agenda, is that right? All right, is there any discussion on that as to whether to put, the vote would be to put this matter on the ballot as a charter amendment?
Madam President?
Yes.
This amendment corrects 2 problems relating to residency requirements to run for executive and council. First, it provides the same residency requirement for the executive as for council. One would need to have been a resident of the county for 2 years immediately prior to filing to run. Currently, a candidate for the executive does not need to be a resident of the county until the day that he or she files. Second, the amendment prevents a council member from being disqualified from completing the last 2 years of a term that he or she has been elected to because of redistricting. I appreciate the support of councilpersons Conwell, Germana, and Gallagher in co-sponsoring this amendment, and of Councilman Greenspan for shepherding it through committee, and for staff assistance from Mike King and the Law Department. I ask for your support to place this amendment on the ballot.
I don't think we need a second, yeah. Yeah, anybody, any other discussion on, in support for or against this, in support or against this amendment, to whether to put it on the ballot? All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll call the roll.
Okay, roll call vote on the original resolution number 2014-0160. Mr. Gallagher? Yes. Mr. Schron? Yes. Ms. Conwell? Yes. Mr. Jones? Yes. Mr. Hairston? Yes. Ms. Simon? Yes. Mr. Greenspan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Germana?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, so this item will go on the ballot. And next item, Madam Clerk, do you want to read that one?
Resolution number 2014-0166, a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 2, Section 2.04 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County to provide for the holding of special elections to fill vacancies in the office of the county executive and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Okay, moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Schron.
Madam President? I move to amend, and the amendment has been distributed, and the amendment prevents having a special election and a general election at almost the same time. If a vacancy for county executive occurs in the last year of the term after the primary election, there would be no special election, and the winner of the general election would complete the unexpired term. This amendment has the support of the sponsor, Councilman Schron. With the inclusion of this amendment, this proposed succession amendment may not be perfect, but it would be a huge improvement over the current language, which has numerous problems. I ask for your support of the amendment and the full resolution.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairperson. I have been interested in this proposal since Councilman Schron brought it up a few weeks ago, and I'm inclined to think that he is on to something, and that I appreciate the fact that Councilman Miller is trying to clarify that. I think, though, unfortunately, from my point of view, that there still needs to be further clarification, that we just really can't go from this concept to putting this on the ballot without a much more extended conversation. I think there are potentially unintended consequences here, and frankly, there's no emergency. I personally would be willing to work with whomever is interested to try to put together a resolution for the next round of charter change amendments, which vets out what the potential issues are that are involving this. Some communities have law directors take over in case of vacancies. Some communities have council presidents take over in case of vacancies. There are, I think there needs to be more discussion about this, and so I won't be willing to support to put this on the ballot today.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Germano?
I disagree. I disagree that we have time. I agree that this amendment might not be perfect. But comes January 1, we're going to be having a new county executive. And within that first week, 6 members of council are going to be deciding who the council president is going to be. And I think the people of Cuyahoga County would like to have a vote on who the executive is going to be. And without putting at least this forward, whatever 6 council members decide who the council president is going to be deciding who the executive is. I think this is too important a position to just let 6 council people decide who the executive is going to be for, and I don't wish any ill health or accident for Mr. Schron or Mr. Budish, but accidents happen, and people can get sick and be temporarily, I don't want to bring I don't want to bring the hearse in, but there could be incapacity. I'm just saying that it does make sense to move this now.
Madam Chair, this. It seems to me that whoever might be chosen council president in January would be a person chosen by their peers who would have experience in county government and would be at least as well qualified as someone who might win a short special election. Having said that, I'm quite open to a very serious conversation about the issue of succession, but frankly, I do think that in an emergency that the members of this council who would undoubtedly have some experience if they had been chosen council president would be probably as qualified, if not more qualified, to temporarily serve as a council president. And they would at least have been vetted.
Mr. Schron?
Yes, I think that I agree with Mr. Germano in regards to this, because we're not talking about just this council. We're talking about the 1.3 million people that live in the county that would be participating in that special election. The 100 days, and I know I've analogized this before, but the country of England actually picks their prime minister in that length of time, and the entire election takes place. For this allowing the people to participate, there is no doubt that this was a gap that was created in the way in which our county government was originally structured, and the fix in regards to this is would allow, the way it's written, the special election still to be written up by an ordinance, that if you wanted to have language that would address that, but it would still be the people of this county that are talking, not a majority of just the council. And as a result, it would put it in a position where, yes, that 100 days it's actually, as we sit here today, it's more than what we have between now and the general election. To this point, we not even had one debate between the two council people, or the two people who are running. So when you look at it from the standpoint, the public will not even hear that for the next, for probably another, I think it's 30 days before the two of us. So in that length of time, we're talking 60 days. So we're talking about almost twice as much time that this ordinance would allow for this public, for this body, for these people of this county to have a chance to vote. And to do anything but to allow them to have a vote means that we, the county council, have retained that power for ourselves as opposed to giving that power to the people.
Do you want to
This is a
respond,
response
Mr.
to Mr. Schron, who is very articulate. I'd just like to remind the councilman that in England, when they have their snap elections, what they also have is something called shadow governments. They have a person who has been selected by the political party to be the prime minister in case there's an election well in advance, and even people that have already been chosen to serve as members of the cabinet. That's why they call it a shadow government. So they are more prepared to have an election than, in that case, than we would ever be.
I think this is well intended, but it needs some work, much like some of the other issues that were brought forward. I was in a city where indeed the mayor unfortunately passed away and the council president took over. And it worked well. It kept our city together. It was an important, tragic time. There are unintended circumstances, and one comes directly to mind that I won't mention right now, that I think would have that would sway quite possibly the wrong and richest person to be elected in a special election, and I don't think that that's right either. But I think we need some more time on this, and I've lived it, so I know from what I speak.
Ms. Simon?
Madam President, I think it's wise to study this and for us to get together like Councilman Brady suggests, but the person who has the most knowledge about the operation of county government is the president. When you get a third party coming in here who's never stepped foot in the county, I think for a transition period, it makes a lot of sense, perhaps why the people who came up with this charter had the president as successor. That's the person who's been involved with county government more than a third-party candidate, presumably, at least for a transition period. So I'm not in favor of this at this point, but it's worth looking at, and it's worthy of examination and detail.
Mr. Germano?
I don't think anything in this resolution disqualifies the president of council to run for that position. Under this resolution, the council president will step in as an interim basis, and certainly that council president can run for the position, and with an election, and the people will decide. I can tell you that, like Mr. Geller, I lived through a situation that happened in the city of Parma. A young mayor, very young mayor, passed away suddenly, a heart attack, and it was the precinct committee people that decided, because state law was changed from the president of council automatically. Parma's a non-chartered city, so it was decided by the precinct committeemen. in that particular case, there were the powers that be as precinct committee met that decided who the mayor is going to be. But had it been a special election, it probably would have been someone that was not handpicked by the precinct committee. So I think having an election and let the people decide is a much better situation.
I don't know, in democracy, the precinct committeemen people are elected also. Just for my concern, well, that's the way our system was set up. I just want to say that my concern about this is that it needs some more work. That, and I agree with Mr. Brady that this whole question of succession needs some more work, and we just kind of got to figure it out. And I have a real serious concern about the special election and the timing. I know my birthday is January 26th, and it is always a blizzard. No matter what, it's always a blizzard. And, you know, you could have some real strange things happen on an election. You know, you could have a day in the middle of the winter when it's a blizzard, and our elections are actually designed at a time of the year, usually, when we have better weather. So I think we just need a little bit more time on this, so I'm going to be voting no on it also.
Madam President.
Mr. Greenspan and well, Mr.
Great,
Schroeder.
thank you. I candidly don't have an issue with this at all. I come from a different political environment where vacancies are filled with special elections. So if this is not withdrawn, I will be supportive of this.
Mr. Schroeder?
Yes, I think we just have to look at the executive level at the federal government and know that almost 20% of our presidents have died in office when you look at that. And if, for God forbid, as you know, student of history, we've had a president die within a few weeks of taking office. And would the intent of the public really have decided that for almost 4 years that the council president would step forward? Potentially, they could have zero experience other than the few weeks that they were council president having stepped forward. Under the way this is written, the council president, if they are the most qualified, the voters would decide whether or not they're the most qualified. They would be able to bring forth their position, and if they were elected, then they go forward. If they're not, the way it's currently written in our charter, that person must give up their seat as a county council person. They must give up their seat as council president. I bet the average person doesn't realize that maybe they elected somebody to represent them, and in reality, if they move forward, they would actually have to step out of that slot and not be in the position. As a result, this actually fixes so many items in that, and to say that we are not going to address this, we haven't addressed it for 4 years. And if it goes another one, it's going to be another 5 years. And yet the problem exists today, and yes, it doesn't fix everything, but does it fix more items than what the problems are that we've left ourselves with? And the answer, I really believe, has to be answered that the fix is that the people will finally have a chance to actually decide if the council president's the best qualified, let that person run, and then if they are not elected, they would not have given up their seat on county council.
Okay, Conwell, Jones, and Simon?
I was in support of this this amendment. It seemed like it covered all the initial issues that we had talked about. I mean, it still had the council president in there as taking the seat, so it wasn't far changed from the charter. And it also helped the council president. I thought that was the initial discussion that we had, so they wouldn't lose their seat. So in reading it, I thought all the items was covered. I am, willing to listen to the body or the president that actually sits in the seat now that would probably put more have thought if this today or tomorrow should happen, which way would they go? But looking at the amendment, I thought it covered the majority of the issues that we had with it, and it would be a work in progress. If we don't put it to the people, and if something should happen tomorrow, that county council is not protected, and I thought that was the main concern. So that's what I have to say on it.
All right, Mr. Jones?
Okay. And I'll be voting against this as well. When we make a charter amendment, we're cementing for the long term how this county should operate. And as Councilman Strong mentioned, there are some issues with this piece of legislation. And just because there are issues, I cannot cement this for the long term. There is absolutely no reason why the 11 of us, when we select one of our own to be president or any office, is not in a position for a transition period to be able to serve and keep the critical needs of this county moving forward. So again, I will be voting against this charter amendment.
Madam President, just briefly, when we talk about the people deciding who should be the executive, it's the people who actually voted for the charter who set up this succession. So they've already voted on this method by which a replacement would be selected. So it's not as if we just made this up and the people haven't had input, they have. And so I just look back to discussions we've had within the charter context when we say that this is how the voters voted and this is what they wanted, let's give them the affirmation that they knew what they were voting on, and I think with that, I'm comfortable with giving this time.
Okay.
In response to Ms. Simon, then we have no desire to amend a single thing because you're saying it was sacrosanct when it was passed. I'm sorry, but we've amended our Constitution. Our document as a charter is a document that was written with the intent that someday we would be amending. So yes, they voted on it, but no, they did not say that it was never to be changed.
Okay, let's call the roll, unless anybody else has anything pressing. All right, Madam Clerk, you call the roll.
Madam
I'm
Chair,
sorry.
on the amendment,
Okay, we got to vote on the amendment first, okay.
yes. However, I am unclear on who made the second on this motion. Mr. Schron?
I have Miller and Schron.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, a roll call vote on the proposed substitute, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Gallagher?
No.
Mr. Schron?
Yes.
Ms. Conwell?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
I apologize. We're on the amendment.
The proposed substitute that was introduced by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Schron.
And a yes vote means
Did we adopt the substitute
The
over the
proposed
original?
substitute.
another vote.
We're still going to have another vote. Yeah,
got
good way of
another
putting it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I said no, thank you. Thank you,
This-
Mel. I say
this-
no again.
No, he told you no, okay.
Okay.
No.
Mr. Hairston?
Right.
Ms. Simon? Mr. Greenspan? Mr. Miller? Mr. Brady?
No.
Mr. Germana?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
No.
The vote is, it fails 5-6.
Okay. So now we go forward on the resolution as originally submitted. Do we need any more discussion on this? Yes, Mr. Greenspan.
Madam President, this one challenges me, whereas the other one did not, because of the last year provision that was added, which would effectively remove 2 elections for executive in the same year, if I'm reading this correctly. We could have 2 elections, I'll look to the author. We could have 2 elections within the same year, correct? If an executive was to step down in May, there could be an election for executive in whatever 100 days, August, September, and then another election in November. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'm just asking. I
You're
guess.
asking the proponent? Yeah.
No, I'm asking, yeah.
Theoretically, yeah.
Yes, you could.
And that's why I like the other one, to protect that last year of office. So as I said, I'm a proponent of special elections, but this would cause, when I've seen special election provisions, it usually precludes the last 2 years or last year, as we had it here, from, or is included in the language so that we don't have duplicative elections. So for that reason, I would not be supporting this one.
Anyone else want to be heard? All right, let's call the roll on the merits of item 0166 on the amendment as to whether or not to place this item on the ballot, which would deal with succession.
Mr. Gallagher?
No.
Mr. Schron?
Yes.
Ms. Conwell?
Yes.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? No. Mr. Hairston?
No.
Ms. Simon? Mr. Greenspan? Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Brady, Mr. Germana,
Yes.
and Ms. Conley. The vote is 4-7, and the item is defeated.
Item will not go on the ballot. Okay, let's move on then to item D, committee reports and consideration of ordinances for second reading.
Ordinance number 2014-0024, an ordinance setting the fee structure for Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter dog adoptions and declaring the necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
This matter will be moved to September the 9th, agenda for third reading. And I just want to say that at the committee meeting, we had a really positive report from the animal shelter, and they've substantially reduced the number of dogs who are euthanized. I don't know if Mr. Simon wants to chime in, but I was really pleased.
It's amazing what the shelter has accomplished in just under a year. The euthanasia rate went from 46% down to 11.8%, and the dogs that are euthanized are either vicious or very ill. We are now on the radar as being a leader, actually nationally, for county shelters that have made this kind of leap, and it's an absolutely great story. And I appreciate all the support I've had from the director, Bonnie Tewin, and the people in place there. I mean, this is amazing, and it's pretty unheard of in this short a period of time, but it's due to the new leadership there. And so we'll be looking forward to continuing those numbers. And so it's a good story.
I'd just also like to commend our Valerie Harry, our internal auditor, who really, she started this whole thing in cleaning up some of the problems at the kennel. And I'm a very great proponent of the internal auditor in terms of, solving problems that we have around the county. And I've talked to you before about expanding her services, because it was her original initiation of dealing with some issues out there that really got us started in improving the shelter a great deal. Okay, so this will be on for third reading. All right, item 10, legislation introduced by the executive. Consideration of a resolution for first reading adoption under suspension of the rules. We need a motion to suspend Rule 9D and 12A.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Germana. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2014-0205, a resolution amending the 2014-2015 biennial operating budget for 2014 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations from the general fund and other funding sources, for appropriation transfers between budget accounts and for cash transfers between budgetary funds in order to meet the budgetary needs of various county departments, offices, and agencies, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Conwell. I believe Mr. Miller has an amendment on this, and you want to be heard and make your amendment?
Yes, Madam President, this resolution is routine except for the $25 million appropriation for the pedestrian bridge. The City of Cleveland is not expected to vote on its $10 million commitment for that project until September 8th. And there is concern that we should hold off on that appropriation until we hear from the City of Cleveland. Therefore, I would move to amend by deleting item H from the resolution, and the amended version has been distributed.
Okay, and that's on page 58, is that correct?
61. Well, yes, ma'am.
Right, okay. All right, any discussion on the amendment? All right, all those in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. So that item will be deleted, will be taken out. And we don't need to refer that to your committee, do it? We'll just leave it. We'll just leave it out, and it'll be back on the agenda for the next meeting. All right, anything else on the remaining items, Mr. Miller? Okay, all those in favor of item 0205, as amended, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, Moving on to item B, consideration of resolutions for first reading and referral to committee. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2014-0206, a resolution amending resolution number 2014-0052 dated February 25, 2014, which expressed support for the Cleveland 2016 Host Committee Incorporated's efforts to secure a national presidential convention in Cleveland in 2016, to allow the use of certain county facilities on a rent-free basis as set forth in a county service agreement with Cleveland 2016 Host Committee Incorporated and SMG, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter will go to the committee of the whole.
Resolution number 2014-0207, a resolution amending resolution number 2014-0040 dated April 22, 2014, which authorized a purchase and sale agreement with Playhouse Square Foundation for the sale of the Lowe's building. To clarify that the county is transferring all county-owned properties associated with the Lowe's building, authorizing the county executive to execute all documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter goes to Public Works.
Resolution number 2014-0208, a resolution making an award on requisition number 30449 to Cleveland Clinic Foundation in the amount of $125,000 for the sale of county-owned property commonly known as the former Metro Health Clement Center, located at 2500 East 79th Street, Cleveland, authorizing the county executive to execute the purchase and sale agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter will go to the committee of the whole.
Resolution number 2014-0209, a resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1100-590 with Reserve Apartments Limited for lease of office space located at 1701 East 12th Street, Cleveland, for use by various county divisions and a department for the period October 1, 2011 through September 30, 2014, to extend the time period to September 30, 2015, to change the scope of services effective July 31, 2014 and October 1, 2014, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $257,100.72, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This goes to Public Works.
Resolution number 2014-0210, resolution making an award on requisition number 31337 to Parsons Brinkerhoff Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $2,808,412 for architectural engineering design services for the pedestrian and bicycle bridge from the malls to the lakefront project for the period September 9, 2014 through December 31, 2016. Authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award and this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter will go to the committee of the whole, and when we have this committee of the whole meeting, we have, I think we'll have 4 items, so we're going to try and get you some fact sheets ahead of time so that you'll have some information so that, or you know, if you want to take a look at some of this and get questions staff beforehand so that we can have all the information available on that evening, so. Okay, go ahead.
Resolution number 2014-0211, a resolution making an award on requisition number 27440 to MCPC Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $337,951.20 for wireless infrastructure analysis, hardware, and installation services for the period June 1, 2014 through December 31, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award and this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
That goes to Finance and Budget.
Resolution number 2014-0212, a resolution authorizing an agreement with City of Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $3 million for cellular 911 public safety answering point services originating in the City of Cleveland for the period August 18, 2014 through August 17, 2019, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
It goes to Public Safety and Justice Affairs.
Resolution number 2014-0213, a resolution authorizing amendments to contracts with various providers for operation of Ohio Means Jobs Cleveland, Cuyahoga County Service Centers for the period July 1, 2013 through June 30, 2014, to extend the time period to June 30, 2015, and for additional funds, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendments and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the contract numbers, providers, and in the amounts not to exceed as printed on the agenda.
This goes to Education, Environment, and Sustainability.
Resolution number 2014-0214, a resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1300-368 with United Labor Agency Incorporated for employer services for the period July 1, 2013 through June 30, 2014, to extend the time period to June 30, 2015, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,400,000, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Goes to Education, Environment, and Sustainability.
Resolution number 2014-0215, a resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1300-411 with Rescare Workforce Services for a work experience program for Ohio Works First Cash recipients for the period October 1, 2013 through September 30, 2014, to extend the time period to September 30, 2015, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,449,279, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This goes to Health and Human Services.
Resolution number 2014-0216, a resolution authorizing a contract with Starting Point in the amount not to exceed $859,541 for administration of various initiatives of the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Program for the Invest in Children program for the period August 1, 2014 through July 31, 2015, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Goes to Education, Environment, Sustainability. Item C, Committee Reports and Consideration of Resolutions for Second Reading. These items will be moved to September the 9th for a third reading.
Resolution number 2014-0199, a resolution amending resolution number 2013-0201, dated September 24, 2013, which authorized an award to Woods Cove as purchaser and lien servicing as servicer for the sale of tax lien certificates by removing the amount not to exceed $25 million, authorizing the county executive to execute all documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective. Resolution number 2014-0200, a resolution establishing a list of certified providers for occupational skills training services for the individual training account system for the period July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2016, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreements and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective with all of the providers as printed on the agenda for item 2.
All right, then item D, Committee Reports and Consideration of Resolutions for Second Reading Adoption under Suspension of the Rule. We need a motion to suspend Rule 9D.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Jermaine to suspend the rules. This is the item that we heard in Committee of the Whole just prior to this meeting. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Madam Clerk, you want to read it, please?
Resolution number 2014-0191, a resolution making an award on requisition number 30137 to Bray Whaler International in the amount not to exceed $308,000 to arrange for the purchase, delivery, and installation of certain furnishings, fixtures, operating supplies, and equipment for use in the operation of the hotel, authorizing Bray Whaler International to act as the county's agent to purchase the FF&E in the amount not to exceed $25 million for use in the operation of the hotel, authorizing the county executive to take all necessary actions and to execute all documents necessary to consummate the contemplated transactions, authorizing the Director of Public Works to administer the project, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Germana. Any discussion on this? We had a long discussion in the Committee of the Whole. This is a major step towards the completion of our hotel, and it was certainly very informative. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Resolution number 2014-0192, a resolution amending the boundaries of County Sewer District Number 17 to add the remaining municipal boundaries of the City of Cleveland Heights in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 6117.01 and 6117.03, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
To adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Germana. Mr. Jones.
Madam President, at the request of the City of Cleveland Heights, the county has amended the municipal lines of Sewer District 17 to take on all of Cleveland Heights. And I ask for my colleagues to support this. This will expand our role and the work that we do in this city.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Resolution number 2014-0193, a resolution fixing the 2015 water, storm, and sanitary sewer maintenance and/or sewerage treatment rates for County Sewer District Numbers 1, 1A, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 13, 14, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 24, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 6117.02, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
And seconded by Mr. Germana. Mr. Jones.
Madam President, let me check with our clerk. Do we have an amendment to this?
Yes, Councilman
We do.
Jones, we do, and each person has the amended version at their station.
And I'd like to make a motion that we amend this item. Basically, Highland Hills has requested that we provide a rate for storm sewer services, and that was not reflected in the original amendment, in the original legislation. So again, I make a motion that we amend 193.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Germana to amend this item. Any other discussion on the amendment? All right, all those in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The item is so amended. Any discussion on the merits then as amended? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Next item.
Resolution number 2014-0194, a resolution approving and confirming the 2015 water, storm, and sanitary sewer maintenance and/or sewerage treatment assessments for County Sewer District Numbers 1, 1A, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 13, 14, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 24, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 6117.02, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Germana. Discussion on this item.
Like the previous resolution, this adjusts the sewer rates at the request of the respective cities. And again, I ask for approval.
All right, thank you. Anything further?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just for the council members that were not part of Public Works, this is the sanitary engineers department. And every year we're going to be doing this because the cities decide how they want to split up, whether it's sewer work, if it's stormwater work, or if it's going to be for water, and also water treatment. So depending on what happens and what's accomplished in the city and what fails in the city, cities can change the assessment that goes, and the county does this work, but the cities have an account and they're assessed for that work. So that's how this works.
Anything further? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Could you add my name to 193 and 194?
Yes, we will. Thank you. You got that?
Resolution number 2014-0195, a resolution declaring that public convenience and welfare requires replacement of Lewis Road Culvert number 13 in Olmsted Township. Total estimated project cost, $582,000. Finding that special assessments will neither be levied nor collected to pay for any part of the county's costs of said improvement, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Jones?
And this is a public convenience and welfare request. Like with all of these that we've seen over the years, this is just the first step, and in this case, the rehab work that needs to be done on these culverts. So again, I ask for your approval.
Any questions? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Resolution number 2014-0196, a resolution authorizing the appropriation of real property in connection with right-of-way plans as set forth in plat number M-5012 for the grade separation of Stearns Road at the Norfolk Southern Railroad in Olmsted Township. Directing the county executive to proceed with the acquisition of real property required for public highway purposes, authorizing the fiscal officer to issue the monetary warrant to be deposited with the probate court of Cuyahoga County in an amount that is equal to the fair market value of the property, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the parcel numbers, owners, and approved appraised fair market value estimate is printed on the agenda for this item.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones, and I got a second over from Gallagher. Okay, now I understand there's an amendment that they're going to delete one of the items.
We do. We have a proposed amendment, and we each have it in front of us. There are two parcel items, number 8, parcel numbers 31 and parcel numbers 31 S1 and ST. It appears the administration has come to a resolution with these respective owners, so they are no longer on the list. So that is the purpose of the proposed amendment. And I make a motion that it become our new document.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Gallagher to amend the item. Any discussion on the amendment? And all those in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The item is so amended. Now, is there any discussion on the item as amended? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, moving on to 0197.
Resolution number 2014-0197, a resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 0800-631 with Michael Baker Jr. Incorporated for consultant engineering services for construction of Stage 3 of the Towpath Trail extension from Steel Yard Commons to Tremont Trailhead for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $2,044,567, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Mr. Jones.
And again, we're dealing with our towpath trail. The whole trail is broken up into phases, and they're still following ODOT structure process and that the county has been using. And this project is 100% funded by federal dollars. And I ask for your support.
Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0198, a resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1100-721 with American Bridge Company for rehabilitation of Columbus Road Lift Bridge over the Cuyahoga River in the city of Cleveland for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $714,577.66, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, authorizing the county engineer on behalf of the county executive to make an application for allocation from county motor vehicle $5 license tax funds in the amount of $71,457.77 to fund said amendment, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Mr. Jones.
This was the rehabilitation of Columbus Road Lift Bridge. The bridge was removed last year. The center lift span was removed and demolished off-site. A new lift was installed. The change order cost was just under 4%. Within the limit, it was $1.1 million, and the overall project was $30 million. This particular change order, the costs were unit bid price costs. So although it was a change, there was no change in the, again, cost per unit. It was just the quantity that changed. So our amendment, again, is within the set dollar amounts, and the bridge will be completed in October of this year. And I ask for your support.
Any questions? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item.
Resolution number 2014-0201, a resolution authorizing amendments to various agreements with Cleveland Municipal School District for universal pre-kindergarten services for the Invest in Children program for the period August 22nd, 2012 through July 31, 2014, to extend the time period to July 31, 2015, to change the terms effective August 1, 2014, and for additional funds, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendments and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the agreement numbers, the providers, and in the amounts not to exceed as printed on the agenda for item number 9.
To adopt.
Moved by Ms. Simon and seconded by Mr. Miller. Simon?
And Council, just this is a adjustment to an existing contract for 2 UK sites with extending the time period of the contract and just allocating some additional funds for this year, the coming year. So I ask for your support.
Any questions?
Can I have my name added?
Both name, please.
Mine as well.
Mr. Jones? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0202, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Cleveland Municipal School District, Franklin D. Roosevelt Elementary School, in the amount not to exceed $35,884.80 for universal pre-kindergarten services for the Invest in Children program for the period August 1, 2014 through July 31, 2015, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Adopt.
Moved by Ms. Simon and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Ms. Simon?
Madam President, Council, we're just adding a site to the universal pre-K program, and happy to have them on board.
All right, any questions? All right, all,
Name.
have Ms. Conwell's name, please. All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Resolution number 2014-0203, a resolution authorizing an amendment to master contract number CE 1300-268 for residential treatment services for the period February 1, 2013 through January 31, 2015, to change the total amount not to exceed from $3,850,000 to $6,950,000, to authorize funding decreases and or increases with various previously approved providers, and to terminate contract number CE 1300-268-05 with Catholic Charities Corporation doing business as Parmadale, effective March 1, 2014, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Miller. Mr. Gallagher.
Madam President, our friends over at the juvenile court came to us with this request. They presented lengthy testimony regarding the changes involved and the necessity that this move forward so they could provide services needed within this request. The biggest change obviously being the removal of Parmadale, and the committee asked for support.
Yes.
The juvenile court brought to our attention that they have had a substantial increase in the amount of placements required because of the impact of state legislation, and although they had money available within their budget for this year to provide for this amendment, they brought to our attention that they're gonna need additional funds for 2015 and beyond, probably in the range of $1 million per year, perhaps a little bit more. So just to make people aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
And Madam President, the juvenile administrator is here if anyone had any individual questions. The testimony was long and a lot of information was given, and we appreciate that.
All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Committee reports and consideration of a resolution council for second reading and referral to committee.
Resolution number 2014-0073, a resolution authorizing a revenue-generating underlying agreement with City of Cleveland in the minimum amount of $2,368,658.95 per annum for operation of jail services for city prisoners, effective June 1, 2014. Authorizing a lease in connection with said agreement in the amount not to exceed $1 per annum for use of the city's central prison unit located at 1300 Ontario Street, 6th floor, Cleveland. Authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter, I'm going to refer, it's on for second reading tonight. And I'm also going to refer it back to the committee. I actually attended this committee meeting, and it was extremely informative, but there's still some other things we got to work out. The sheriff was here with his staff, was very, very informative. I don't know, Mr. Gallagher, do you want to say anything else?
Madam President, I thought it important to, bring this out at this meeting. This is such a big deal. It's such a big movement, and our goal to coordinate with Cleveland and other cities regarding regional jails. Our goal still is to move this by October 1st or sometime in October when all parties are comfortable. We will work on this at the next two committee meetings and hopefully have this locked down for the last, my hope is the last meeting in September.
Yes, Mr. Greenspan.
Yeah, and I appreciate the continued discussion on this. I submitted through the Chief of Staff yesterday. Each council member should have received. I have nearly 24 questions about this project, and that's hopefully between now and the next few committee meetings we'll be able to get those answered. But also I'd encourage colleagues who are not on the committee to do the same if there are questions. This is, as the chairman said, this is a very important step if it's one that we wish to take, and we need to make sure that we're all on board with what the ramifications of this very well may be. Thank you.
Okay, item F, consideration of ordinances for first reading and referral to committee.
Ordinance number 2014-0026, an ordinance enacting Title 13, Chapter 1301 of the Cuyahoga County Code to establish the Cuyahoga County Consumer Protection Code, and declaring the necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
Let's go to economic, environment, and sustainability.
Ordinance number 2014-0027, an ordinance enacting Title 13, Chapter 1302 of the Cuyahoga County Code to establish the Cuyahoga County Weights and Measures Code, and declaring the necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
Goes to education, environment, and sustainability. Item G, committee reports and consideration of an ordinance for second reading adoption under suspension of the rule. We need a motion to suspend Rule 9D.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Jermaine. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2014-0025, an ordinance enacting Chapter 718 of the Cuyahoga County Code to enact the Cuyahoga County Financial Transaction Modernization Act governing the use of financial transaction devices by county entities for payment of county expenses, and declaring the necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Conwell. And Mr. Miller, did you want to be heard on this, or do you want to have Majid speak on it?
I'm going to speak on this briefly. This ordinance facilitates the acceptance of the use of financial transaction devices such as credit cards, debit cards, and electronic checks to pay bills owed to the county. And it was reviewed and unanimously approved by Finance and Budget Committee, and I ask for your support.
Do you want to be heard on it?
Concur, just the law department recommends and asks for your vote for this tonight. It's simply simple for the acceptance of credit cards for payment of county expenses.
Okay. All right, any questions? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, miscellaneous committee reports. Jean's got a lot of dates in here because of the holiday, which is going to alter some of our meeting dates. So do you want to go through those, or do you want to have the committee chairman go through?
Madam Chair, I think the committee chairperson should determine what their dates would be. These were just preliminary, not confirmed, unconfirmed dates that you have.
Okay,
Madam-
go ahead, Mr. Greenspan.
Madam Chair, thank you. My committee will meet on September 15th at 9 a.m. to continue the legislation presented by Mr. Brady.
Okay.
My colleagues, because of the holiday and today's introduction of time-sensitive legislation for our veterans, we need to meet at a special time next week, which will be on Wednesday, September 3rd, from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Finance and Budget is also scheduled for our regular time on Monday, September 15th at 1 p.m., but that meeting could be canceled if no new legislation is referred on September 9th. And I would also like to thank my colleagues for your support in placing the residency charter amendment on the ballot. I, with others, spent a lot of time and work on that, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Anybody
Madam
else?
Chairperson, the Health and Human Services Committee will meet at 1 o'clock on September the 17th to take up the resolution that was introduced this evening, and we are already had planned and will still have a presentation by the Division of Children and Family Services on their strategic plan. And so anybody who's interested in that, I would like to invite you to be there.
Anybody else?
My committee will meet on Wednesday, September 3rd, but if the committee members can make it, we're going to do it at 9 o'clock a.m., and I'll have Janine check with everybody to see if they can make it at
What
9.
day?
It's Wednesday, the September 3rd.
Ms. Simon, Mr. Miller is meeting at 9:30 that same day.
Just say that on
Yes, ma'am.
Wednesday? Okay, so we'll have to get together and find a place to put this then. Got a lot of stuff, so I'll get with committee members then.
And
Yes, Mr. Jones.
And the Public Works Committee meeting will meet 8 days from today, which is September 3rd, at our regular time of 11 a.m. to deal with items referred today.
Okay, any miscellaneous business?
Madam President?
Yes.
You were the person who expressed preference for Wednesday. Would you want me to switch to Tuesday
I
for
can do
Finance
Tuesday.
and Budget?
I can
And
do
that
Tuesday.
will accommodate Ms.
Okay.
Simon's time. So Finance and Budget will meet at 9:30 in the morning, but on Tuesday, September 2nd, not Wednesday, September 3rd, and that will facilitate the Education Committee meeting time.
Thank you very much. So then we'll put back the committee meeting on September 3rd, Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Just send them all out so I can
Sure.
put them in my phone. Okay, any other miscellaneous business? Any public comment unrelated to the agenda?
I believe Reverend Butts would like to speak again.
Good evening once again. Council President Conley and the rest of you this evening. I am the facilitating hostess and director for the Month of Resistance Against Mass Incarceration, which is a national effort which will be taking place in October here in Ohio. And I would like to invite your ideas and support. And this is not to say that people who do wrong should be justified in doing so, but this is to address the mass incarceration matters. And we will have a special day of events on October the 22nd, which is also my birthday. This will be a great day to celebrate the liberty of people and their lives. And we will have a kickoff on Thursday at the Unitarian Church in Shaker Heights at 7 p.m. along with Puncture the Silence organization. And you are all invited and welcome to attend. And then I'd like to say, there was a famous quote that says, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" And I say, can anything good come out of Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, Ohio? And I say yes. As some of you know, my dad, Charles Pinckney, was the first multiracial American to run for mayor in Warrensville Heights against Raymond J. Grabowski. Some call him Grabo. And my mom was the chief of staff for Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones until Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones passed. I entered into the United States presidential election twice, in 2008 and 2012, and I learned a lot. And I've entered into it again for the 2016 election. And one of my very serious concerns is family values. I'm very interested in what you're doing in that Health and Human Services meeting that you will be having, because there are some major matters that need to be addressed, because when the household falls apart, then the whole nation falls apart. And I say to you, Sheriff Bova, and to Chief Pinckney, who is not here right now, it's time for peace globally. I want to be a part of that. And I want to encourage it. And I pray that we will cease from these battles of warfare and preparing our nation for war and battle in terms of going to kill other people, blow up their homes and places of worship, and we find other alternatives. I will work with this county council to do what needs to be done so that we can remove metal detectors from schools and put books and pens and paper on desks without children wondering whether they will have a home to go to or whether they will have what they need in their homes. And they don't have to worry about making extra income to help their parents, but parents will be allowed and welcome to be parents once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm going to leave this information. It's directed to you, President Conley,
You can
and,
leave it, Mrs. Robinson,
and
too.
for the chairman of the Safety Director Committee, or Public Safety Committee. And this is some very serious information, and I'm trusting that we will work together to get this done.
Thank you. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Otherwise, I wish everyone a happy Labor Day. You can all have Monday off. All the county employees can have Monday off. And we will see you in 2 weeks. All right. We stand adjourned.